Hello there, fellow humans, and welcome to this video. And today I want to talk about the Object 84 because it is a new tier 9 Russian light tank. So here we are. I mean, it's more of a medium tank than a light tank, but anyway. The armor is actually not too bad. Obviously, this here is about 250 effective. Obviously, the sides of the turret is butter. You have 60mm side armor, so you shouldn't try to side scrape, but it can get some bounces off the sides. And the same with the front. The front plate is angled very well, but then again, this plate isn't. So the only protection you have here is against tier 7s, which you don't face. But this plate up here can definitely bounce a couple of shots because of the angle. And that is quite nice as well. Now, obviously, you shouldn't expect this tank to have any armor to work well, but it can get some miracle bounces here and there, which obviously does help to make use of it. 2700 DPM. 310 alpha damage, decent penetration, not the greatest, but it is not too bad. It has heat, unlike the T100, which doesn't have heat. Also only has 5 degrees of gun depression, and it is not quite as fast as the T100, but it is certainly quite good, and that's obviously a tier lower. So, let's go straight into it with a replay from yesterday's stream. So here we go, and as always, if you enjoy it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and also check out the links in the description. Now, what we're going to do here is obviously on this map, we're going to go to the bridge, because going city is not a very good idea. And obviously, it does have the mobility to get there first, unless there's another light tank on the enemy team, or something like a T-49. But T-49s are something else entirely anyway. Now, is this tank worth getting? Now, obviously, most of you probably already have the T4 Lightweight. If you don't have T4 Lightweight, then you can get it, because that is not a bad tank either. And obviously, the LTG, I'll probably make a video on that thing as well. It should certainly be skipped in favor of the LTTB, because the LTG is just worse than the STTB. The LTTB. This thing, however, is quite interesting, because it is somewhat rear-turreted, as you can see, but it's not completely at the back, which does make it a tiny bit hard to play, obviously, because the further back the turret is, the more of your front you have to peek to take a shot. So you have to kind of try, if you're in a 1v1 fight, which normally you shouldn't be, like around the corner, you should ideally try to somewhat side-scrape it around, but you wouldn't do that normally. But it has 60mm side armor, so it can work out. So you're kind of in a pickle there with this thing. But most people are just gonna yeet anyway. So now obviously we have a problem. Borsig is being threatened by the Borsig. And other way around. And obviously the object does win that fight in the end. And we're gonna take him out. And now we do have a problem, as in our heavy tanks decided to go to the wrong side of the map. Now they're crying for help. I've already done 2000 damage here. As you can see, it's quite a nice game. And now obviously the problem will be that those two are going to struggle quite a lot. The Lurv is going to come running to me. And now it is going to be a 3 versus 4. And spoiler, this is going to be an ace from me. So that's why I'm featuring it, because it is a very good game. And obviously at this point I'm just waiting here. Because what you don't want to do in a situation like this is you don't want to charge in. You don't want to push. Look at that house. Look at those beautiful textures. That's just wonderful. You know, I mean, there was an update, but they still stayed, so ha! My game is better than yours. But yeah, those textures are wonderful. But anyway, as I said, in a situation like this, you don't want to charge in. You don't want to just rush, because obviously then you get taken out very quickly. You want to create some distance between you and them, so that your gun can be more effective than theirs, because it has to be, because otherwise, if they're the same effectiveness, you're going to lose, because they have more people. So, it's going to hold this angle here. It's obviously not peak light tank gameplay here, but the thing is, most of the time, the light tank role doesn't really exist in Blitz. Most of the time, you are then reduced to simply brawling like a medium as well, because, you know, the spotting isn't very effective in Blitz. And that is what makes this thing very interesting, because it is more a medium than a light anyway. It's just a very fast medium. I mean, for example, a Leopard PTA does have less armor, and is also not as fast. It does have a bit better gun though. Obviously you can see here, I am somewhat protected behind the wall, but not enough. And now obviously what I'm going to do here is I use the Lerva's HP to my advantage so I can take out tanks. That's also what you want to do in a situation like that. In a 1vx or a 2vx or something like that, you want to take out the guns first, because obviously the more tanks that shoot at you, the bigger the threat they will be, even if they're one-shot. You want to have to take out the guns so that you don't lose as much HP. Now the biggest problems that we have here is the WZ, because obviously he's not a one-shot and I'm lower HP than him. So, gonna use the mobility to get all the way out and then try to shoot him in the side without taking damage. But while Russian bias does exist, it doesn't work against Russian tanks. So you see that right here as well. Here's the IS-3 Defender. Try to take a shot here. I use the heat, try to go for the front plate, but it goes into the tracks, unfortunately. Now, that bounces as well, and then the WZ gets me. And then I'm going to have to be very careful in aiming, and there we go. And this one is going to be quite interesting, because the ML bounces off my side. I do stay for a shot, and it somehow does hit. So as you can see, Russian bias works against Russian tanks, not against Swedish tanks. I guess. But no, that was purely luck there against the ML. And now I'm up to 4,200 damage, and against that 110, which has a lot more HP, and I'm a 2-shot for it, which ain't nice. Now obviously he's probably gonna still sit up there, so what I'm gonna try to do is drive into the wall like a pro, and then go down and go up the other side to get a surprise on him, because that's how you play light tanks and faster mediums against the heavy. You have to get the surprise factor, and with this thing you can do that quite well. Now, it's not an amazing OP tank or anything like that, but it is certainly quite strong. And I don't know how he missed that. He probably should have aimed. But what I'm going to do now, obviously, he did shoot. He has a, I think, similar alpha damage gun, and unfortunately it did bounce. Probably should have tried heat there, maybe to get a better penetration shot. But that doesn't really matter at that point, because, I mean, I've done 4.8k damage. I've already done more than I ever could, or normally should. So at this point, if it's lost, it's not because of me, it's because the team didn't do their job, basically. Because, you know, if you have to do 5k to win, you're not having a great team. And that's the thing also about this tank. It doesn't really rely on a team that much, because it's fast, it can move around, it's not a turtle that is just completely stuck in place and can't do anything no matter what happens. Now, I'll make a slight mistake here, and that is shooting hate, because that now gives them the opportunity to shoot me again, and now I'm a one-shot and he's not, and that is really bad, and that is only 30 seconds left on the clock. So at this point I just shoot and he bounces again, so you can certainly expect this tank to have a lot of armor. Now obviously, given I don't really care much about winning here in this situation, which might sound weird, but to be fair, I've already done everything I ever wanted to do. I know I got 5k damage, the rest, that's not my problem. So I'm gonna go up here and bounce with heat off his upper front plate. So the Russian accuracy in the end does disappoint me. However, the accuracy of this tank is still quite good. It does have quite good accuracy here. I mean, it does play generally like a TFT4 that is faster. If you never play the TFT4, then it probably would be a better idea to start off with the Russian mediums to get a feel for this type of tank, because obviously the light tanks are very similar to like a TFT4 and a T62A, as in they're roughly the same guns, just they're a bit faster and have less armor protection. So I think going for the Russian medium tanks first is a great way to get into these. And if you already have the Russian mediums, then imagine being faster and less protected, and then you pretty much know everything. Obviously, the 5 degrees of gun depression are a huge downside to this vehicle, which is something you really don't want to have. But then again, it is a light tank, so it's a lot easier to cope with that, because you can reposition a lot more effectively. If this were a heavy tank, then 5 degrees of gun depression is just not very fun, because obviously you're stuck to a couple of positions that aren't very effective most of the time. The AMX-30 is a lot more versatile, is a lot more universally usable as well. So I do think that the MX-30 is a better tank than this. But yeah, I mean, it is not too bad. I see you. I see you. Hello there. You don't want to fight that guy, ever. But yeah, just take shots from a distance. Now obviously, everyone plays differently, so talking about playstyle isn't really a thing I do a lot, because there are people that play differently, and the way I play is just, I look where the enemies are, and then I drive around and shoot them, basically, and that's just hard to explain, I suppose, but what you want to do with this tank is, obviously, never go city, never, ever go city in any light or medium tank in the first place, at the beginning of the battle. But now, at the end, or in the mid-game, like this, obviously, we know that the ISU is quite isolated. So we're gonna go hunt him. Doesn't matter if he shoots me. He's short HE. And I'm gonna use the city to flank around and get them. But obviously if you go in the city in the first place, you don't know where the enemies are, and you gotta run head first into a heavy, and in a light tank that is a bad idea. So you always wanna be on your enemy's side as much as you possibly can. Okay, nope, that's not it. Now the I6 can't shoot me from down there. I'm gonna still try to go around though anyway. Now our I6 is going down. He's not paying a lot of attention, I think. Let's go for it. Right here. There's only 3 of them left, which is very nice. Don't have to do much work, probably. I mean, unless they just get all ammo racked, which just wouldn't be very nice. Okay, now I hope he doesn't focus me, which he probably will. Because people like shooting at new tanks. Hey, it's dead. Wonderful. That is nice. So yeah, overall, the verdict of this vehicle, it is a good tank. It is a faster Russian medium tank. That certainly is worth getting if you are interested in this type of tank. The pros is that it is a Russian medium tank, basically. The downsides, well, is mostly the gun depression, and then the rest that the alpha damage might not be as good as a Vickers CR, because obviously it ain't no Vickers CR. It's definitely not as strong as that tank. But overall it's a very good tank, I'd say. And it is also worth getting, especially because the Tuner LT is quite an interesting vehicle as well. Now, one last word about the 20-second spotting mechanic. It is dumb. And, however, I hope you didn't think that this video was dumb. And if that was the case, thank you very much for watching. See you for the next one. Goodbye.